I believe, and we can go into the get precepts on this thing, but just not to make it long, I believe it's because of our men have went into a place where we're celebrating women for doing wrong that it's almost pressured so many of our women to do wrong as well. Where, when in my time, when I was in high school, the most popular girl in school was not the girl who was getting it popping. It was the girl who wasn't getting it popping, and everybody wanted to be with her. Now, if you're not doing anything, I know some guys, I'm not going to say the names, but there's a saying, if you ain't letting hit, you might as well be weak. And that's really sad. But that's what's going on today. That is the mindset of our men, and they're passing that mindset on to our women, because women rely on the admiration and the exhortation of men in order to set the boundaries for what they would do. So everything, we can't put our fingers at the women. Really, it boils back to us as men. We're not celebrating our women the way we used to do no more. We're not exhorting our women. We're not holding them up as queens. But so now, in order to get into those positions, look at all the rappers, look at all the rich men, look at all the business owners, look at all these guys with money and wealth and power and prestige. Who are the women that they have by their side now? The good girls are getting left behind, while the girl who are doing whatever it takes to get to the top is the one that they're bringing to the top with them, instead of the girl who was holding them down when they had nothing. And this is really sad. But today, we want to encourage you that you may have been overlooked by the world, but not by the Most High. Now, Jay, give us that verse 1 and 2 again. Back in Luke 21. And if you just joined us today, today's title is Overlooked by the World, but not by the Most High.
And he looked up and saw the rich man casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw a certain poor widow casting thither 2 mites.
Now, so my first point for you today is, for the women, is that love and faith is the only thing that impresses God. Love and faith is the only thing that impresses God. See, this woman believed, and she also, not only did she believe, but that she loved the most. She loved Christ. And so when you got a woman that I'm telling you, man, our women, man, when the nice women, these good girls, I mean, they have a glow about them that's just unmeasurable. It's not something that you can't put makeup on and get that glow. You can't put a certain amount of clothes on and get that glow. You can't get your hair done right and get that glow. There's a particular glow that for our women that walk with the Most High, that they have that you cannot manufacture. And even though this woman was maybe a poor woman, I can guarantee you that glow that she had is what made her stand out. And that's why Christ looked at her. So there may be some other things that impress people in the world. Your hat length, your body length, your waistline, all these other things may impress people in the world. But the only thing that will impress the Most High is love and faith. And at the end of the day, you should care less about what man says, and you need to be focusing on what the Most High says. I don't care, no amount of rejection from man should never outweigh your acceptance from the Most High. You may have been overlooked in the world, but not by the Most High. Take a look at verse 3, verse 3 and verse 4.
And he said, of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast in more than they that all. Mm-hmm. For all these that have their abundance cast into the offerings of God, but she of her penury have cast in all the living that she had. Now
that penury means poverty. So her impoverished state, and the situation that she was in, the 2 mites that she cast in, she gave everything that she had. So my second point for you is that people may have missed it, but the Most High didn't. Your husband may have missed all the things that you do. The father of your children may overlook and undervalue all the things you do. Even your kids may have missed it, but I can guarantee you, the Most High didn't miss it. He knows your sacrifices. He knows that you could have graduated from college, but you had to step out so you can get a job. He knows the times where you really needed to get this shirt for your job, and you really need to get this blouse for your job, and you really need to get this right here. But something came up with your kids, so you wearing the same clothes to work over and over, so that your kids will look good. Kids might have missed it, but the Most High didn't. The father of your children may try to scandalize your name, and may try to make up situations and undervalue the things that you're doing for the children, and say that it don't matter. But he knows that you set up all night helping your child with a project, even though you had to work 10-hour shifts. The world may have missed it. People may have missed it. Your family may have missed it. Your friends may have missed it. But the Most High didn't miss it. Nobody in here was paying attention to the woman. Everybody was celebrating the fact that all these rich people were putting in these great stuff, putting in these big dollar amounts. But the one that was mentioned in the scriptures is the one that did it out of love and faith. And you may never get celebrated on earth. You know, people may not never come and throw you a party and say how great you are. But the Most High is paying notice to every bit of it. You may be overlooked by the world, but not by the Most High. Let's go to Galatians 6. Galatians 6. We're going to look at verses 9 through 10 here. You know, I know a lot of people, and this is another thing too that I want to say too before we get into this. One of the things that really saddened me today is how the position of motherhood and housewife is getting to the point where nobody has any respect for it anymore. When there was a time, especially in the so-called black community, the so-called African American community, that the pillar of the community was the mom. And nobody celebrated her because she had a 4-year degree. Nobody celebrated her because she had this great career and worked for this great powerful company and accomplished all these things in the secular world, even though she may have did all those things. Okay? What was celebrated was the fact that at the end of the day, everybody know that they could go depend on mama. That mama held the household down. That these men knew, these husbands knew, that without mama, the household falls apart. Without mama, there ain't no real meals going forth. Without mama, the kids are going to be scattered. The kids ain't going to know what's going on because daddy, the only thing daddy doing is working and coming home. Mama was the center of everything. Even though she might have had a job, even though she might have did anything. But when you talk to people 40 years and older, and maybe even, I would say 30 years and older, when they talk about their mom, they're not talking about the fact that she drives a Mercedes-Benz, even though she made it. They're not talking about the fact that mama always stayed dressed in Gucci and Prada, even though she made it. They're not talking about the wonderful career that she had, even though she may have it. They're not going to talk about the degrees and all these different doctors and law and whatever the case may be as far as education was concerned. No, they talked about the fact that when they was there crying, that mama was holding them. When they had nowhere to go, mama had her arms open. Now the whole ideal of being a mother has got to the point now you look at, oh, I'm just a housewife. There's no such thing as just a housewife. A housewife is the greatest thing. Proverbs, you look at Proverbs 31 when it talks about the virtuous woman. What she did is what made her virtuous, taking care of her husband and her wife, her children, and the household. But now all these other women out here, these other groups is telling you now that you don't mean anything unless you do something outside of the house. And this is why our children are suffering. This is why marriages are suffering. This is why communities are suffering. Because now instead of being raised by your mama when you're 2, 3, 4 years old, going to grandma's house, now you're going to a daycare with somebody who got to take care of you and doing it for a check. It's totally different. None of my brothers and sisters and cousins, we didn't go to no daycares. We was either with mama or was with grandma. And this is why the family is suffering, because now we done talk down about all our good women and all the things she's done, and we devalue it and make it seem like it's nothing. Galatians 6, verse 9.
And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith.
Especially to them who are in the household of faith. Give me that verse 9 again.
And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not.
Don't you dare, and I'm talking specifically to the women, don't you dare allow anybody who didn't appreciate who you are, who you were as a person, to make you change from being the giving person that you are. This is one of the things that has been what is the casualties of our society changing, because now our women are becoming harder and harder and harder. And it's because they've been taken advantage of and they feel like kindness is weak now. And Most High didn't make you like that. He gave you a heart. That heart he gave you for a reason. He gave you that great personality for a reason. He gave you that beautiful smile for a reason. And I see so many of our women walking around these days with a frown. I mean, they don't even, and if you speak to them, they automatically freeze up because they think you want something from them. You tell them, yo, man, I really like the way your hair is. You're looking real gorgeous. They automatically think that you're trying to holler at them when you just really just say, yo, I like your hair. Yo, shorty, that's the kind of fly outfit you got on today. But because they hear it joined with so much lies and stuff now, that they don't even want to take anything anymore. And now people don't want to do good by nobody anymore because they've been unappreciated. They've been taken advantage of. And especially when it comes to these churches. You got women that go out there and cook for 200 to 300 people. Don't get paid a dime for it. Love doing it. But then, instead of taking the opportunity to thank them, no, we don't do that. I just need you to get back in there and clean that kitchen up. Taking advantage of it. Now you got it slowly but surely. Our women don't want to do the things they used to do at church no more. They don't want to do the ushering no more. They don't want to sing in the choir no more. They don't want to do these things because they feel like they're being taken advantage of. You got so many of our women who are doing good to little boys, ironing their clothes. And when I say little boys, I'm talking about men who act like boys. Ironing their clothes, washing their clothes, cooking for them, cleaning their house, doing all these things for men who didn't deserve it. So by the time your king arrives, you don't want to do that anymore because you feel like they don't deserve it. So what you need to do is you don't need to change your actions. You need to change who takes the benefits of your actions. You don't need to change the giving. You need to change who you're giving to. You don't need to change being nice. You just need to change who has the opportunity to benefit from your kindness. Verse 10.
As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men.
To all men. To everybody. Not just people who deserve it. Not just people who done did something for you. But women, continue to be the good women that you are for everybody. Even the ones on your job who you bring in cookies sometime. You done brought in brownies. You done brought in some soup when it was cold. And then the next day when you ask for 50 cents to get some chips from the snack, they didn't want to do it. Keep bringing the soup. Keep bringing the brownies. Keep being good. Because the Most High is watching. And you're going to say what now?
Especially unto them who are of the household of faith.
Especially to them that are in the household of faith. Don't stop serving in the church. Don't stop being a blessing to your pastor. Don't stop being a blessing to your first lady. Don't stop being a blessing to the deacons and to other ministers. Don't stop doing that. Because for the ones who didn't appreciate it, there are somebody who it means the world to. If you're just joining me today, today's lesson is overlooked by the world